The first 5 Rafales have touched down at Ambala. It's a new era of Indian combat aviation. 5 Rafales set to touch the sky with glory. But no rest for Rafales or our fighter pilots. Next target, operational preparedness. India's Rafale Raj officially begins. That's our top focus on India First. So there was tremendous excitement when the first 5 Rafales touched down at the Ambala Air Base. But while there was an air of festivity, it's strict business ahead. These aircraft have to be operationalized very quickly. So what does this mean? Which means that these aircraft now have to fly in Indian environment, especially given the current situation along the line of actual control here in Ladakh. I'm Gaurav Sawant. We'll tell you much more about Rafale Raj and the politics that continues on the subject. But as always, let's get started. The number of air pockets and controversies that the Rafale deal hit, it's a miracle that the first 5 Rafale fighter jets touched down at Ambala this afternoon. And what a welcome as soon as the aircraft came into the Indian Ocean region. So D-63, that's INS Kolkata, a guided missile destroyer, stealth destroyer. It received the Rafale, welcomed it in the Indian Ocean region, the Arabian Sea, and then in Indian airspace, you had 2 Sukhoi 30 MKIs, air dominance fighters, that escorted the Rafales to the Ambala Air Base. This is truly historic. India's latest, most potent weapons platforms landing at India's oldest airbase. Abhishek Bhalla brings you a top story tonight.
A long-awaited moment. Indian Rafales receive a thunderous welcome after touchdown at the Ambala Air Base at 3:14 p.m. on Wednesday. The 5 multi-role combat jets greeted with a water salute as they landed. They were received by Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadoria. The first batch of 5 Rafales, comprising 3 single-seater and 2 twin-seater aircraft, entered the Indian airspace at 1:25 p.m. They were welcomed by Indian Navy warship INS Kolkata, deployed in the Arabian Sea. A brief conversation between Group Captain Harkirat Singh and INS Kolkata, an indigenous Indian destroyer, was later released to the media.
Indian naval warship Delta 63, welcome to the Indian Ocean.
Naval warship Delta 63, Arrow Leader, many thanks. Most reassuring to have an Indian warship guarding the seas.
Arrow Leader Delta 63, may you touch the sky with glory. Happy landings.
Delta 63, Arrow Leader, wish you fair winds. Happy hunting, over and out.
They were then escorted by 2 Sukhois, 30 MKIs. Flying at a speed of over 1,300 km per hour, the Rafales reached Mumbai airspace at 1:42 p.m. and in an hour, they reached Agra. The 5 fighter jets took off from Mérignac Air Base in southern France on July 27th and had a brief stopover at Al Dhafra Air Base in UAE. They will now be stationed in Ambala, where they will join the 17th Squadron of the IAF, also known as the Golden Arrows. The fighter jets will be formally inducted into the Indian Air Force in August in a mega event. Bureau Report, India Today.
So at the Ambala Air Base, the effort now is to operationalize these aircraft as quickly as possible. 5 aircraft. There are special blast pens that are being made for these aircraft. Infrastructure coming up for 18 aircraft. So you'll have 1 squadron stationed at Ambala, the 2nd squadron at Hashimara in Bengal. But what's extremely critical is that perhaps after some celebration today, these pilots will take off once again and start flying operational sorties. What does that mean? Their integration, let's say with the radar system, with AWACS, the airborne command and control system, with other fighter jets. So where they'll take part in mixed formation flying, different aircraft, different roles, all together for India's air dominance in these skies. Abhishek Bhalla and I bring you this report. Amidst a thunderous applause and ceremonial reception, the first 5 of 36 Rafale fighter jets landed at their home base at Ambala. But there isn't a moment of rest for the Omni-Role Air Supremacy Fighters team. Their task ahead will be to become operational very quickly, given the current standoff with China and the situation along the line of actual control. The operationalization schedule is expected to be compressed.
There are these war clouds hovering around Ladakh still. Both the sides are on hot standby. They are eyeball to eyeball. And therefore, Indian Air Force's aim will be to quickly compress the time frames for making the aircraft operational as quickly as possible. Mind you, the ISAR radar and the missile weapon package, it's a game changer. There is no other aircraft in the entire subcontinent which has got the kind of capabilities that this aircraft has got.
The Ambala Air Base, operational since 1919, was the mother base for the induction of both the Indian Air Force Jaguars and the upgraded MiG-21 Bisons and other fighters in the past. Infrastructure for 18 Rafale air supremacy fighters is coming up on a war footing at Ambala. Specific to Rafale, blast pens, weapons preparation areas, training and other related facilities are being set up at the Ambala Air Force Base.
अंबाला का हिस्ट्री यही है कि एक प्रीमियर बेस है इंडियन एयरफोर्स में और यहाँ से हम काफ़ी सिक्योर्ड एनवायरनमेंट से हम अपना काम कर सकेंगे लड़ाई में तो है ही बीच टाइम में भी ट्रेनिंग आराम से करा जा सकता है
The pilots will soon be flying operation preparation sorties and integrating with the radars and AWACS and testing their weapon delivery skills. The Rafale pilots will also work on mixed formation missions and realistic war-like scenario operations. The task ahead includes network-centric missions along a wide range of operation areas. For the Rafale Air Supremacy Fighters team, there isn't a moment's time to rest. Their main task now is to become operational as quickly as possible. And this means flying a number of sorties in Indian environment with other fighter jets, with AWACS, getting integrated with the flying environment in India. This will take some time. Operational schedules, we are told, are getting compressed to ensure that the Rafales are available given the situation along the line of actual control. With Abhishek Bhalla in Ambala and with cameraman Kripal Singh in Leh, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. So Rafales are just one part of the story. As far as Indian Armed Forces are concerned, there is a huge wish list of weapons, some in the pipeline, some India hopes to acquire as quickly as possible. For example, light tanks for Ladakh and North Sikkim. Army wants them, 155mm howitzers, boat-towed and tracked, about 1,400 of them. Then the Indian Navy is looking at nuclear fast attack hunter-killer submarines, also another aircraft carrier. The Indian Air Force is looking for more, 114 more multi-role medium combat aircraft. Indian Air Force is also looking for unmanned aerial vehicles and unmanned combat aerial vehicles. So Sandeep Unnithan, Manjeet Negi and I have brought you this report.
On the way. The first 5 of 36 Rafale multi-role fighters have landed at Ambala. But the Indian armed forces are grappling with a huge wish list of weapons and systems to deter hostile adversaries across the Himalayan borders. The army, for instance, is looking to acquire at least 300 ultralight tanks for deployment in eastern Ladakh and North Sikkim to counter China. With the army deployed for the long haul in Ladakh, and with the threat of hostilities both along the line of actual control and the line of control, the army also wants to quickly procure 1,400 howitzers and 155mm and 52 caliber smart munitions. To keep an eye on the enemy across the mountains, the army is in the market also for long endurance drones.
Defense procurements and accretions are contingent to the strategic orientation which a nation must have, and it should cater for at least a 30 to 50 years window. So if we look at our country 50 years hence, that is 2070, so we need certain capabilities to be together with our allies.
To effectively checkmate China in the Indian Ocean region, the Indian Navy wants to acquire 6 nuclear-powered fast attack submarines. For sea control, the Navy has been pushing for another aircraft carrier and aircraft on board. To keep an eye on the threat in open seas, the Navy also wants 6 additional P-8I long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft and at least 10 Sea Guardian drones.
It is not only about fighting the war per se, it is about preparing for that war in terms of equipping the armed forces, in terms of training the armed forces, in terms of deploying the armed forces, in terms of maximizing the efficiency of the armed forces. And this is not just an armed forces function. It's a Ministry of Defense function. It's a Government of India function.
The Indian Air Force has received only the first 5 of a total of 36 Rafale fighters. The Indian Air Force squadron strength has fallen to 30 squadrons as against the sanctioned strength of 39.5. The Indian Air Force is very eager to conclude an agreement to acquire 114 medium multi-role combat aircraft, apart from 6 airborne early warning and control systems. Quite apart from this, the Indian Air Force also needs 8 additional mid-air refueling aircraft.
It took the Indian Air Force nearly 2 decades to get a modern fighter jet of their own choice, and now the focus is to ensure that such delays do not take place. At a time when the mantra for the armed forces is synergy, the Army, Navy and the Air Force are working closely to prioritize their future acquisitions. With camera person Anil Jaiswal, Abhishek Bhalla in Ambala for India Today.
Now, in Ladakh, over the past several weeks, we've been seeing the Mirage 2000 fighter jets, the Sukhoi 30 air dominance fighters and the MiG-29 air superiority fighters carry out a large number of sorties. Of course, off late, there's been a reduction in fighter flying. But what role will the Rafale play in this environment? And several fighter pilots are saying that as far as the Rafales are concerned, with the weapons that come with the Rafale and the endurance, the Rafales may not even need to be anywhere close to Ladakh to carry out the kind of missions they are meant to carry out, especially with the kind of weapons that they carry. Shivarur with this.
India's public has one question above all. Will the Rafales play a role in Ladakh? Like all things military, it's a complex answer. So stay with us as we take you through it step by step. Question 1. Will the Rafales be deployed in Ladakh? First things first, the Rafales will be based at Haryana's Ambala, which as you can see is 430 kilometers from Ladakh, which may seem like a lot, but it's a very short distance in supersonic fast fighter jet terms and can be covered very quickly. More importantly, the Rafale's range and its combat radius is a staggering 1700 kilometers, which means the aircraft and its weapons are a direct threat to all zones covered by that circle, which very much includes eastern Ladakh, Chinese-controlled Aksai Chin, Tibet, Pakistan and POK. Question number 2. Can Rafales operate from Ladakh? The answer to that question is a big yes. In fact, one of the India-specific enhancements on the Rafale is a modification of the fighter's twin-jet engines, allowing them to operate at extreme cold temperatures of the high-altitude air bases like Leh. Question number 3. Don't Indian Air Force pilots need time to train? The Indian Air Force has clearly stated that its pilots are fully operational on the Rafale and its advanced weapon systems. And while the jets can always be deployed where and when necessary, specific mission familiarization has actually already begun. Since June, Indian pilot trainees in France have specifically been flying simulated combat profiles mirroring missions over Ladakh, with true depictions of terrain and deployments. The Rafale combat simulators and training equipment allow pilots to load scenarios of choice and fly missions in a highly realistic artificial intelligence setting. While this can only be the next best thing to actual flights, it's an indication of a move to get combat ready quickly. Question 4. How will China react to the Indian Rafales? While pilots will spend time stretching their wings and discovering their combat qualities, the jets will already have a psychological effect across the border. Every time the adversary spots an aircraft on the Indian side, they will assume it's the Rafale with all its advanced long-range weaponry, and that itself can have an effect on any potential battle. The belief that India will always put its best foot forward in a combat scenario could have a deterrent effect. Question 5. Is the Rafale better than Chinese jets? While the Chinese Air Force has capable aircraft and in large numbers, the Rafale currently outclasses them in all parameters, including combat radius, range, weaponry, and very importantly, in terms of electronic warfare. China's most advanced jet, the 5th generation J-20 stealth fighter, should theoretically be a superior aircraft. But without combat experience like the Rafale, and China likely unwilling to expose its jet to Indian sensors, the advantage stands eroded for now. But the Chinese jet is still a reminder that India still doesn't have a true stealth fighter aircraft yet. And finally, can 5 Rafales make a difference? Well, the 5 Rafales arriving are just the first batch, with more aircraft to arrive in installments for a total of 36 jets by 2023. And while there can be no replacement for sheer numbers, it's also important to note that the Rafale is an enormously capable weapons platform, and even a handful of these jets, flying with other Indian Air Force jets in combat packages, could pack a serious deterrent and offensive punch. Bureau Report, India Today.
There's an old saying in the army that the gun is important, but the man behind the gun is more important. Equally true of the Air Force. We've told you about these magnificent flying machines, the Rafale, and the weapons, the scalp, the meteor, the hammer, the other weapons on board. But let me now tell you about those magnificent men who fly these flying machines. For example, the commanding officer, Group Captain Haryana Singh. He's a Gallantry Award winner. He won a Shaurya Chakra. He was flying a MiG-21 Bison and there was an accident on board. Now, he managed to land that aircraft when many thought that he would ditch the aircraft and bail out, but he didn't. In adverse circumstances, he landed that aircraft and saved crores of rupees and his life and property on ground. What about the other pilots? Take a look at this special report.
Flying Tigers. Their roaring touchdown. Meet the IAF pilots who flew in the lethal Rafales. Group Captain Haryana Singh, Wing Commander M.K. Singh, Wing Commander Abhishek Tripathi, Group Captain Rohit Kataria, Wing Commander Sidhu, Wing Commander Manish, and Wing Commander Arun flew the Rafale down from France. This proud team is led by Group Captain Harkirat Singh, the commanding officer of the 17th Squadron, also the Golden Arrows at Ambala Air Base, which the Rafales will be part of. A decorated officer awarded the Shaurya Chakra for his feat in 2008 when, during an emergency, he not only saved his aircraft but also ensured no lives were lost. Commissioned in 2001, Group Captain Singh will be the first commanding officer of the new Rafale squadron. Air Commodore Hilal Ahmad Rathar from Anantnag in Kashmir played a key role in the quick delivery of the first batch of Rafale jets and their weaponizing. He is also India's air attaché to France.
कि कश्मीर के लिए, जम्मू के लिए, लद्दाख के लिए या पूरे हिंदुस्तान के लिए ये फख्र का दिन है। जो तमन्नाएं उनके वालिद साहब की, उनके फैमिली में तमन्नाएं थी, उन्होंने आज पूरा किया।
Wing Commander Abhishek Tripathi belongs to Jalore in Rajasthan. An NDA graduate, he joined the IAF in 2001 as a flying officer.
हम लोगों को तो इतना बढ़िया महसूस हो रहा है कि जो कुछ कहा नहीं जा सकता है। हम लोग खुशी का, हमारे लोगों खुशी का कोई ठिकाना नहीं है कि आज हमारा भतीजा यहाँ पे पहुँचा है। सारा देश उसको देख रहा है, सारी दुनिया उसको देख रही है।
Group Captain Rohit Kataria's grandfather was emotional when he saw his grandson flying the Rafales home.
राफेल विमान उड़ा के लेके आ रहा है, कैसा फील हो रहा है आपको?
बहुत खुशी है, बहुत ज़्यादा।
Wing Commander Manish Singh is also a product of the NDA. He joined the Indian Air Force in 2003.
कितना खुशी है आपको?
अब दुनिया को खुशी है तो हमको क्या पूछना है?
A historic arrival for the nation's safer future. Bureau Report, India Today.
Sons of the soil all set to touch the sky with glory. We will continue to track this story very closely. Now the task shifts to operationalizing these aircraft. 5 more come in August. 1 squadron will be complete this year, by maximum by next year. And then the second squadron, 18 more come for Hashimara. But do remember, the Indian Air Force still requires 114 more. That is all we have time for on this India First special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.